So when they're looking for guidance and, they're upset about things and all of a sudden they'll see a dime. And that's a sign from their angels. So it can come in physical forms as well.
Okay, I'll talk about some of the direct ways that we can connect with our angels. So I kind of like to group it in the area of those external physical signs that Tammy's talked about. The angels will use the surroundings to get a message through to us, or they can talk to us directly.
Yeah.
And talking is one of the ways that they connect to us. So there's an inner voice. Sometimes it's a voice that sounds like our own voice. Sometimes it's almost a voice that's talking to us as if to say, you can do it, or you'll be okay.
Yes.
We're going to help you. We are with you. And that's a voice that we hear. And that's one of the direct ways that angels communicate to us, through sound and voice or hearing. Another one would be the visual that you talked about seeing auras. I was like you. I did not see anything, in fact. And I heard about people talking how they always saw these spirits of loved ones that had passed away walking around the room. And I thought, I've never seen that. I'm kind of glad I hadn't seen that, actually, because I don't think I'd want that distraction. But what I did learn was that I can see in my mind's eye. And in doing this work for some time, I've learned that there's so many different ways that people see. And some people see easier by just closing their eyes and just imagining where the imagination is. But instead of forcing the imagination, something kind of just pops in there visually. And it's just learning to trust that that is a picture, perhaps a premonition or a prophecy of what is going to come if you follow what you think you're supposed to do, or the right path you should take. This is what's going to happen. So it sometimes gives us that motivation. Sometimes it's a visual that people see right here. I call this holographic. People will often see the outcome right before their eyes. It's sitting right in front of the third eye chakra, that energy center. And some people are able to project really well. So if we say, imagine you succeeding at that great presentation or that great show you're going to put on, and you could sit and all of a sudden the room is transformed and you can just see everything around you being that beautiful scenario where you're just elegantly presenting, what it is you'd like to present. That's what we call projection. So there's so many different ways that visually the angels or spirit will give us visual images of motivation, inspiration, or what is to come, or even a form of guidance. It might be, what is my most fulfilling life path? And we see ourselves maybe working behind a counter as a chef, and we've always wanted to open a restaurant, but we've always stayed in that business role, a corporate role that we've been in. We haven't pursued that dream, but they'll just give us that vision. And if that's coming to us repeatedly through those channels, that's another indication it's coming from the angels or divine guidance when it's repeated, when we have that same vision occurring over and over again. I think that's probably a couple of the ways you're thinking of, and there's a few more too that we can touch on.
Definitely. And even in the hearing, one of the things that I often tell my clients is that, because we'll have clients that will come and ask us a question and say, well, do they want me to do this or do they want me to do that? And what I'm able to do as someone who connects is bring through the guidance for this path and bring through the guidance for that path. But in my own interpretation and opinion over the years and practicing is that true angelic guidance will not tell you go do this or go do that, because it works with our free will.
Right.
And so what we're able to do through our readings is to, as I said, give you the guidance along what may happen if you go down this road, and what may happen if you go down this road, how this road may help you, how this road may present a challenge, but again, not to replace your own free will choice.
Absolutely.
And that's something that is really important to me to impress upon my clients about what we're here to do, is to help bring through guidance, not necessarily tell you do this or do that, because that's not our place.
And that's not what it's about. It's about simply guidance. And these are some different options. And if we take this away, for example, I do it exactly the way you do. It's like, okay, there's this path, this path, this path. All right, if we do it this looks really good. This way, there's going to be a lot of delays here, there's going to be a lot of problems, etc. Things you have to watch out for here. So you can go through each of the different scenarios and see which one, this looks like if you take this job opportunity, it's very promising, it feels very good. I get my little rainbow symbol, or if it's very good. So there's a lot of different ways of doing that, but it's never about telling somebody what to do.
Exactly.
Ever.
And that's one of the things I want to press upon people who are maybe interested in having an angel reading for the first time or seeking assistance, is that we're really here to help guide you into your own knowing, things that you already know and feel, and that we're just helping you bring your own decisions to the surface.
Exactly.
We're not here to tell you what to do or when to do it or when to leave your husband or quit your job or should you go down this road or that. That's not our place to do that. One of the other things I wanted to touch on is with angelic readings versus some other readings that may be out there. For me personally, again, I always find that the difference that I notice is angelic readings tend to come from a place of support, love, encouragement, praise, and inspiration, motivation. Where some of the other readings out there, while they're also psychic, they are a little bit more fear-based. So they tend to focus on the things that can go bad. We talk about curses and placing curses and black magic and things like that. Whereas one of the things I want to point out when you're working with an angel reader is that he or she will come from a place of love and light, which is a difference. Can you touch on that a little bit more, somebody?
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Yeah. The angels are pure love. So they have no ego. They know not how to say, watch out for this. They just say, protect, uphold, be careful, but they don't say, oh, something bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. They are messengers of pure love. So they're always, as Tammy mentioned the word positive, they're always bringing positive messages. And I think what you're touching on really is that when we're doing readings, psychic readings are basically using the psychic skills to read energy. But if I was really nervous about something I was doing in my work or relationship confrontation I was, planning to deal with, I would be holding a lot of fear. And if you were just using your psychic senses, you would just feel nothing but fear.
Yes.
So I find just having a psychic reading is a little like saying, can you see how I'm feeling? Can you read what my energy is? Whereas when we set the intention to hear from those beings of love and light that surround us, they're all around us, and they are upholding that will of that highest source, which is you are loved, you are supported, you are safe.
Yes.
They give us a different form of guidance than if I'm just reading energy psychically.
Yes.
Okay. There's yet another form of reading I would call mediumship, which is using that same intuitive channels, not just channel, but channels, feelings, visuals, hearing, and we connect with deceased loved ones who have a living spirit in a different realm than the physical realm, and they also can provide some information and guidance and counsel and opinion, and they have a little bit of a different energy than our angels. I think there's a big difference between a guardian angel versus the deceased loved ones.
Yes.
The deceased loved ones have a personality that's very much like the way they were
living
living
on Earth.
Yeah, and they give us their opinion or their suggestion or from their perspective what would be the best approach. But I think that it's nice to be aware that when we go to the angels, you're basically going to that conduit, that connection, that messenger that is coming straight from the highest source.
Yes.
And so it's really about our own personal connection with God or source or creator, whatever we use as that understanding of that our highest power. So it is really a very powerful process. And when people are doing angel readings, they're typically leading with an intention statement or a prayer that we like to hear from angels. And there's an understanding that we're hearing basically from messengers from our highest source.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all beings of love and light.
Mm-hmm.
As an example of that, I had a man come to me for a reading. And he didn't believe in angels, didn't believe in psychics. But he had been out of work for 6 months. And he was desperate. He was absolutely desperate. And he came in and he just said, I've been out of work for 6 months. I don't believe in any of this stuff, but I need some help. All right, let's take a look. And when I looked into his work timeline, all I saw was a brick wall. And so what they did was they bounced me back to where he had been working. And he had been working at his job for like 15, 20 years. Everything was good, right? And then about 3 years from the time he left, there's like this black mark and it just started to go downhill. And he had a new boss come in at that time, and they didn't quite see eye to eye, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And what he had done was he had started to, once he got out of there, it had been such a toxic environment, such a negative environment, that he had built up this wall. And he was basically, I'm not going into another job situation like that. I'm not going to be treated like that. I'm not going to go through all of that nonsense. So what we did was we brought in Archangel Michael to put up some energetic protection around him. Mm-hmm. And what this did was it kept him protected from the negative entities, negative energy, but it allowed that wall to come down so he could be protected from the negative, but allow the positive in. Mm-hmm. So once Archangel Michael had put up the protection around him, we re-looked at the timeline. The wall was down, and there was like 4 job offers. And I said, like, they're right on your timeline. Like, and he's like, when? I'm like today, tomorrow, like maximum 2 weeks, maximum 2 weeks. And I said, the first job's going to be taken away, but there's going to be 3 excellent offers for you. And either one, whatever you choose to do, is going to be excellent. Next day I get a phone call. All right, I got a call this morning. I had a job offer, it was taken away. Later that afternoon, he got another job. He got a job offer. Yeah. And he was all excited about it. Next day, he got his third job offer. The third job offer came through. And they wanted him to go to Winnipeg. He's like, should I go to Winnipeg? Sure, go to Winnipeg. If you feel good to go to Winnipeg, go to Winnipeg. So he went out to Winnipeg. By the time he got back, the fourth job offer had come through. And within 2 weeks, he was in his full-time job. He had taken it. But if they hadn't done that angel work, in removing that brick wall and moving that...
his own fear.
His resistance, exactly. His fear and resistance of going back into a toxic environment. But I love that story just because he was, for somebody who was so doubtful of angels and so doubtful of psychics and that kind of thing, and just to have the 4 offers came in, first one taken away, and then he had these 3 great offers, and within 2 weeks he was working full-time at a job that he loved.
And I think that's really important, and it's not necessarily for the psychic kudos or psychic win that we experience that joy as angel readers. It's the joy in seeing someone connected to their own divine self. That you think, wow, that's great. You've made that connection. You're connected because again, we're serving as the conduit. We're helping with the guidance, but the client is always doing the work. We are all individually doing our own work. So the joy comes from seeing the light within someone else lit. And that's one of the things that keeps me going, right? Because we just love lighting, helping to help people light themselves up and lighting up the world as a result.
I often say to my clients, you'd be shocked at how little I do in a reading.
Yeah, exactly.
I really don't do much. Sit back, let the angels work, is what they're saying.
It's so true because you're sort of like, okay, take over. Now, what are some of the things that you do to keep your conduit clear?
Staying in positive energy, I think, is really, really important. Staying around positive people in a positive environment. Meditation, you'll never get away from that. Meditation is just so important, calming the mind. It's very difficult. Like sometimes I get clients coming in that are very intuitive, but because they're in a stressful situation and their mind is just racing, they can't hear the messages. You know, normally they'd be able to get them, but they're just so frantic, they're so stressed out that they can't pick up the guidance. So they need somebody who's just a bit calmer that can just make that connection for them.
And that's a really good point because if I was trying to learn something from Chris, but you're talking at me and we're talking and I'm talking, it's going to be very difficult for me to hear you, to see something you might be showing me, to feel your touch, or because I'm focused. So even for those of us who are trying or looking to strengthen our ability to tune in on our own, it is that quietening down so that you can sense in whichever way you're connecting and receiving, that you can sense that as just sort of quietening things down to allow that to happen, which you would do if you were trying to converse with anybody.
Exactly.
I find when I do a lot of teaching people how do you open up, I kind of think of it as a top 10 list of self-care techniques. One of them would be like opening the chakras, and you can open the chakras in a variety of ways. Meditation is a great way to open the chakras, relax the mind, relax the body. And hearing angels, it's listening to our intuition or feeling our intuition or seeing something from our intuition, and it's subtle. It's energy. Okay, everything is energy. What we're sitting on here, our bodies and everything is an energy, a living energy with a consciousness and a will. But we're tuning into subtle energy. So there's a lot of things we can do to open up those chakras. Sea salt baths are a great way. Salt tends to wash away toxins. Meditation is a great way. Walking in nature or getting into a natural system where things are just as they're meant to be. So walking through a forest is a great way to clear the aura of all that extra energetic debris we might pick up from, say, a toxic corporate environment or riding on a public transit system, and we just get other people's energy in our field and we feel it. And that's one of the things also is being able to articulate, what am I feeling, and identifying where did this feeling come from.
Whose is it?
If we recognize that, oh, wait a second, this is my daughter's crankiness. She came home from school with this crankiness, and I've been cranky for the last hour. That's not my stuff. I can let that go. Immediately there's a peace. When we're in a state of peace, when we're in a state where it feels as though our energy, our life energy is strong and firm, it's quite easy to hear that guidance. When it's not, it's almost a call for self-care, meditation, retreat. And so there's a lot of different things. Listening to music that opens us up. If we're singing and we're driving along, that's great because it opens us up. Physical activity or yoga is actually shaking out the debris of energy in our field and opening the chakras so we can hear and receive that guidance from that infinite, source. There are so many different ways that we can open up. If we're feeling good, that's the time to ask the angels, how can I help? If we're really having trouble getting over a fearful situation, maybe a big situation or a big decision in life, come and see somebody. Come and see a practitioner who does angel work and who can do that on your behalf. So when we're in need of help, we're not in our best state, we go to our fitness trainer, we go to our counselor, we go to someone for angel guidance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, with even dialing back to when you talked about, maybe being on public transit or being around other people and sort of absorbing energy, it's not because they're bad people.
Of course not.
It's like anything. If you came off the public transit, you might come home and wash your hands.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's just because there might be something that
Exactly.
they're not bad people because they might have a cold or a germ or whatever it is,
Correct.
right? So it's that kind of thing of just being conscious of that we need to pay attention to our own energy as well, and in order to help us keep that connection clear and keep ourselves
Absolutely.
cleansed that way. So I think that's also really important. Now, one of the things I know you've done in the past as well is help children, and we talked about this earlier, where we are all born with psychic intuition, all of us, every one of us. So some of us have the past, like it runs through my family. So like Tiger Woods is a better golfer because his dad was a better golfer. It's kind of in the DNA. It's just a little bit of an advantage kind of thing. And then there are people who train and hone skills that's how they enhance them. But all the children come in and they all have psychic skills, and usually our intuition, like you say, gets shut down from the no, sweetie, that's not an angel. That's your imaginary friend or whatever. Just put them away now.
Correct.
And let it go. Or you didn't hear anything, or no, you're not seeing anything. And so we start to doubt ourselves. We just get told that enough times that you sort of shut these things down. But I do know that you've done some work with kids as well. And what I'm wondering is, because I have 4 spirited children myself, I know you do as well, is helping the children to stay connected and helping them to use that in a powerful way for themselves and to keep them connected to their own divine self. What are some of the tools that we can offer our kids in supporting them, whether it be as a parent or just someone who's in the community around children?
I would say that meditation is something that it's never too early to introduce to children. And meditation can be in many forms. It just can be sitting in stillness and just sitting and recognizing our own thoughts passing through our mind. And sometimes that's all it takes for a child to recognize that there's an inner peace that comes with just being still. There can be easy ways to learn to meditate. Playing chant music or a mantra or even a guided meditation is a great way. And kids are so imaginative that it's really an effective way to get them into that meditative state. Meditation is not something we should do. It's a state of being in which we're